Alrighty, welcome back, boys and girls. It's your main math man, Mr. Shank, coming to you live from Walker Grant Middle School. And for today's warm-up, it's going to have a couple different graphs, and you want to make sure that you can understand and see an example of one and just the normal routines for these scatter plots. So when you guys are trying to also draw that line of best fit, make sure that you are not connecting those dots. Meaning, if you are going to draw that line and you're used to going through all the points, your line kind of looks like this and your face looks like this. So please do not do that. Again, you're just going to still draw that straight line, but it's an approximation, meaning you're trying to get the best fit for your plot. So, in the first example, it has a positive relationship or correlation. So the main idea for that is as x increases, so again, if this is your x-axis, your values are going up, okay? This is usually what we have. It's as in x increases, meaning it goes left. Let's try drawing that L again, left to right. As those increase, what happens to y? So if you were to see, so let's say this is just basic example. You're trying to see, all right, so as I'm going up, so I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, as my x values increase, is my y going down or up? Well, they're also increasing, and so that way we know this is going to be a positive correlation or a positive slope. So our slope of the line of best fit is going to be positive. An example of that, more in detail, if you want to draw this one out, would be height and weight. So this is just basic biology, or I guess it would be physiology. Physiology. The name escapes me, but anyways, just basic anatomy. And so what you're talking about is if you have a higher weight, you're most likely going to have a higher height. Meaning if you're a little bit taller, you're going to have more bone structure as well, because you just have a longer real estate of bones, and so you're going to weigh a little bit more. So that's an example of a positive relationship. Again, that line, let's try this out. So what we've been doing is for that line of best fit, what we do is we say whatever number of values that you have. So for instance, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. What you're trying to do is you're trying to, again, it's not going to go through every point. It's not going to be perfect. I know it's hard to give up perfection, but it's an approximation. So you're trying to say, I want to have an equal number above the line, and I want to have an equal number below. And so, again, as long as you're able to kind of draw, and so we had 11, so let's have about 5 or 6 below and 5 or 6 above. It might go through some points, it might not. It's totally fine, as long as it kind of shows. The main idea is this, is that line that you would use to predict a value. You can see, okay, that's going to be, as my weight increases, my height increases as well. So again, make sure if you need to go back and double check those, you can. Moving on. All right, so for a negative relationship or correlation, now it's going to be opposite. So it's as still our, let's pull this up. As our x values increase, meaning they're going from left to right still, what happens to our y? Well, it's going to go down now. So our y value, it's going down. And you're not yelling timber, but you do notice that this slope would be negative, meaning it is falling to that bottom right, okay? And so an example of that would be this. And so the more and more days you miss in school, whatever, if it's sickness or, got to take a personal day, whatever you want to call it, you're more likely to have a lower grade point average. That's just the matter of the fact. If you skip class in college, you're definitely going to have a lower grade point average. So noticing if you only miss a couple days at school, you're gonna be in a solid 3 to 4 range. But once you start having and missing consistent days, yes, it's going to go down. Okay, and yes, it's not always going to be perfect. Some people have a little bit higher, some people have a little bit lower, but you can notice, again, I'm going to draw that shape that I had. So, let's draw it like it. So if I have a bunch of points like this, which you guys will have no more than 20, so you do something like this, that'd be a lot, but you can still approximate, so you can kind of see and notice, again, as my X values increase, my number of absent days from school, my Y value decreases. So I'm starting at a 4.0 average and going down, okay? And so as you're seeing this, there's going to be a negative slope, a negative correlation, or a negative relationship. And lastly, when it says no relationship or correlation, again, that's the perfect definition of a scatter plot. Those points are going to be all over the place, and they're not going to be lines like that, but you guys get the idea. A lot of you guys, I'm genuinely impressed. A lot of you guys came to conclusions that were obvious and intuitive, meaning you guys came up with your own answers and you were able to say, okay, this is why I got my answer, and this is how. And so you're using scatter plots to be able to predict a reasonable value. So if there's no correlation or no relationship, there's no obvious pattern, there's no way you can draw that line of best fit, there is no way you can make a prediction, there's no way to use this graph reasonably. And so an example of that would be like this. I personally like this one because it's as your length in the hair increases, well, what happens to your test score? Obviously, there's no correlation at all with this because, I mean, let's be honest, I'm at 0, but I'm way past 100. So again, just see, again, it would be hard to draw a line of best fit, which is why we don't. Make sure you're filling those in, and make sure you are able to have those correlations, have those slopes, use those same ideas that you used for linear functions. And for other videos, I can take requests. If you have a request, a suggestion, or general comments, make sure you're say them, or you can write them down and drop them in a box on my desk. Quick tidbit I have here as well, speaking of length of hair, these people are clearly, this is from the one of the Shinto shrines in Japan, and this is what it looks like when you look at the scatter plots and you see that outlier of myself. As always, super slam that subscribe button.